How's it going, everybody? And welcome back to the Shameless Watch Collector. A couple weeks ago, I unboxed the WM226 on my 11/11 unboxing video. Definitely go check that one out if you haven't already. But since then, I've been wearing this watch heavily in order to have a solid opinion for this in-depth review. And I'm happy to tell you guys that I'm ready. So let's dive into it and really break down the WM226. Let's get into it. As always, let's start with dimensions. On paper, the WM226 is a pretty straightforward watch. 39mm in diameter, 45.8 lug to lug, 12.5mm thick, and the lugs are 20mm wide. Everything on this watch is full 316L stainless steel, including the case and bracelet. You also have a screw-down crown and 100 meters of water resistance. So spec-wise, this is familiar territory for this price point. Nothing crazy, nothing really experimental, just a solid, pretty well-known setup. On wrist though, I think they absolutely nailed the size. I am so glad this case isn't smaller. If they had gone 37 or 38, I think the whole point of the dial could have been lost. At 39 with the 45.8 lug to lug, it wears compact enough for most wrists, but still has enough real estate for the glacier effect to really show off. The 12.5 thickness is also pretty impressive for an automatic with the double domed crystal. It has some presence, but it definitely doesn't feel like a hockey puck. Slides under sleeves just fine, but when it goes out, it definitely gets your attention. Then we have materials and build quality, and this is where things get a little bit more spicy. The bracelet is honestly one of the highlights on the hardware side. It's a solid 3-link 316L bracelet, mostly brushed, with a robust feel that lines up with what you'd expect at this price. It's sized down really easily, no drama, no sketchy pins, everything felt really premium. The clasp has micro adjustment, which I always appreciate. However, it's not the easiest thing to work with, and I definitely wouldn't call it on the fly. Either way, it's there, and it does help you dial in that perfect fit. Up top, you get double dome synthetic sapphire crystal with AR coating. However, despite the anti-reflective coating, there still is a little bit of glare, especially out in bright outdoor light. Some of that is just the nature of double dome crystals. They bend light in fun and sometimes annoying ways, if we're being honest. But it does mean that sometimes you're fighting reflections when you're just trying to stare at that gorgeous dial. To me, it's still worth it for the look of the double dome, but I definitely wouldn't say this watch is completely glare-free. But overall, the dial is still able to do its thing the vast majority of the time. But then, we flip it over. And this is when the watch gets boring. The case back is completely sterile. Just a brushed stainless steel back, nothing on it. No logo, no text, no engraving, no display window. And I do understand that some people love a sterile case back. It's clean, it's simple, it doesn't clutter. I get it, and I don't blame you. I mean, to be fair, it's pretty common in higher priced AliExpress watches. For example, both of my St. Martins have completely blank case backs, and you've never heard me complain about those. So I do feel a tiny bit hypocritical here, but here's my argument. The blank case back on this watch is inconsistent with the character on the front of the watch. Maybe they felt like anything in the back would take away from the very special and gorgeous dial, but personally, I would have taken literally anything. Maybe an engraving of the glacier, or a cracked ice engraving on the back? I don't know. Not to mention, since it's running the NH35, I would definitely take a display case back here. You can dress up NH rotors with so many gorgeous colors that have complemented this dial so perfectly well. And it's not like WM doesn't know how to do this. Take a look at their website, so many other models, all of which, at lower prices, have transparent case backs or awesome engravings. Doesn't matter if it's the NH34, 35, the Miyota 8215, literally all of them have transparent case backs. And also check out this engraving! What the heck, WM? Okay, this is making me sad. Let's move on. And to be fair, at the end of the day, this is all subjective. Like I said, some people do prefer the sterile look. Let me know what you think in the comments. And finally, in the materials category, let's move on to packaging. And this is where I have no complaints. You get a really nice leather style case and a really good looking cushion holder that looks like it belongs in a very expensive watch box. The whole unboxing experience makes you feel like you're opening something special. Let's talk about the movement. Inside, we have the Seiko NH35. So you already know the deal. Hacking, hand whiting, about 40 hours of power reserve, reliable, widely used, and easy to service. I mean, honestly, I'm just happy this watch is automatic. Something this visually dramatic with the quartz movement would have felt like a big missed opportunity, and definitely overpriced. The only real downside, again, is that you can't see it. They gave us a solid, proven movement, and then hid it behind the world's most unenthusiastic case back. There's also a color match date wheel on this watch. I think it blends nicely with the dial, you still get the date on it, and the last thing I want to do personally is take away any attention from this beautiful dial. But I have heard they're going away from this in the next version of this watch, and in the future this one will come with a white date wheel. So for me, I'm happy I potentially got one of the last ones that has this color matched date wheel. Now, let's move on to design and dial. This is the part that everyone cares about on this watch, the dial. Plain and simple, this is why you buy the WM226. If you don't believe me, just look at the reviews on AliExpress. It's quite literally the only thing anyone ever talks about. And it makes sense, this is a special dial. The cracked ice glacier dial absolutely delivers in person. It looks three-dimensional. It has layers, depth, and this crazy shard-like texture where every facet catches light differently. You turn your wrist and it shifts from bright to shadowy to almost frosted looking, all within seconds. What I love is that this somehow manages to look wild and unique without crossing the line into cheap or toy-like. That's a very thin line, and this could have gone very wrong. Instead, this looks like something that you would expect on a much higher priced piece. It looks like a one-of-a-kind dial. You've also got raised indices sitting on top of little platforms, which adds even more depth and breaks up the chaos of the dial. And to my knowledge, WM were really early in pushing this whole cracked ice style as a core design, especially in the AliExpress segment. Other brands are now starting to play with similar textures like Tandorio is. I really don't think anyone is coming close to WM when it comes to how good they make this look. And also, I don't think this is homaging any brand or any watch I can think of, and I think that creativity on AliExpress deserves a lot of credit. We spend a lot of time on here talking about homages and even clones. When a brand does something distinctive that becomes their signature, it's worth celebrating, and it should earn them some bonus points, so good for you, WM. The lume is good, not great, but definitely good. It's not going to melt your retinas like a great diver, but it's usable and it looks good in the dark. However, something else that's in the dark is you and I, the consumer, about what type of lume is used in this watch. It's not specified on their website or in AliExpress, any listing I can find, what type of lume this is, BGW9 or something else. That is, in my opinion, a little bit inexcusable at this price point. I have $40 Addies dives where I know what type of lume they used. But above all, like I said, you buy this watch for the dial and it delivers on that front 10 out of 10. And finally, we have the price. And this is probably going to be the most uncomfortable and longest part of the review for me. On the WM site, at the time I'm filming this watch is listed around the high $100 range. Realistically, after you factor in shipping, taxes, all that stuff, this is pretty much a $200 watch. Regarding the movement and materials, this is normal, dare I say unexciting for that money. NH35, 316L stainless steel, sapphire crystal, 100 meters of water resistance, and a very high quality bracelet. Nothing about the spec sheet screams, this watch is so interesting, I need to own it. It's not anything on the spec sheet, it's the dial. And that's the point. You're paying for the dial on this watch, and WM knows that. They have other models with stronger specs, higher water resistance, and more interesting movements that come in considerably cheaper than this. This is one of their priciest pieces because they know people like me will pay for interesting and exciting dials like this. And honestly, I can't even say there's anything wrong with that. They're the ones who created this gorgeous dial, and they should enjoy the fruits of their labor. However, what does rub me the wrong way are some of the pricing tactics that WM used during these sales, especially during the big sale periods like the 11/11 sale when I grabbed this watch. You'll see the price dropped, and I'm saying that in air quotes, by $20, but then the shipping jumps up $20. It's a type of thing that really only someone who spends way too much time on AliExpress looking at watches like this, like me, would notice. But I waited a long time for this watch. I wanted this one months before the 11/11 sale, and I waited because I wanted to get the right price on it. And I was confident I can get this watch for $150 or below by combining coins, coupons, and the 11/11 sale. And honestly, that's part of the fun for me. I like getting these amazing watches at the best price possible, and then even more, I love showing you guys how I did it so you can do the same. And when I found this watch marked down to $167, I was all kinds of excited. I opened the listing and then I see the $20 shipping price, and all my excitement around the price I had seen and really the watch just completely fell out of me. I was still so in love with it that I wanted it bad enough to where I still just sucked it up and bought it, but I did not get any good deal on this watch. I did not get it for below $150, and that is after combining tons of coupons, using coins, anything I could think of to get this watch for cheaper. WM just doesn't make it possible. And I'd be lying to you guys if I said that doesn't affect my review a little bit. I have to treat this like a $200 watch because that's essentially what it's going to be to 99% of people out there. If I have something like a Pagani that I'm confident that I can get for 50% off on AliExpress, I'm going to review it somewhere in between there because I'm confident I can show you guys how to do that. I don't feel that way about this watch, so I have to judge it like a $200 watch. So with that said, let's step into more uncomfortable territory and talk about something that I found on AliExpress on their official store that I think is as much of an interesting choice as it is a cool one. You can buy the cracked ice dial, the exact one in this watch, from their AliExpress official store for under $15. I kind of view this as a double-edged sword. On one hand, it's super cool of WM to offer just this dial available for sale so people can repair their watch if something happens or make amazing customs with it, especially at such a great price. If I was at all capable of putting watch hands in the dial of a movement, I would be all over this for a custom watch. This would be the first one I would go to. But in my opinion, the low price of the dial is also a problem. It exposes that this isn't some impossibly expensive unicorn dial. It's a mass-produced dial that probably cost them very little to make. So much so that they have extras sitting around, clearly. If this watch lived in the $125 to $150 zone consistently, I honestly think it would be everywhere. People would snap these up all day and they would be in every AliExpress collection. At around $200 though, now you're competing with brands like San Martin, Proxima. These brands bring tighter tolerances, more refined finishing, and in most cases, just stronger overall spec packages and equally beautiful watches. So let's bring this all together and get this watch a final grade. And this has been the toughest one to come to a final decision on, but I'm gonna give this watch a solid B. If you're like me and the cracked ice glacier look has been living rent-free in your brain for months, this watch will absolutely deliver. The dial execution is exceptional. It looks unique, it feels special on wrist, and every time the light hits it just right, you remember exactly why you bought this watch. You're paying for design, personality, and for something you don't see every day. On the front, the value is exceptional. But if you're the type of collector who is all about squeezing maximum detail and finishing out of every dollar, if you care more about perfectly finished edges, decorated movements, incredibly premium bracelets that can compete with Swiss brands, and pushing specs to the limit, then I think your money might go further somewhere else. For me, I'm glad I own it. I knew I was paying a bit of a premium with the dial. I accepted that going in, and on wrist, this watch makes me smile. I just wish WM would bring things like a custom case back, maybe 1 or 2 more layers of AR, and the overall pricing strategy up to the same level as the creativity that they clearly poured into the front of this watch. And also, I would take less fancy packaging if it meant a cheaper watch, or if it meant more money going into the actual watch. All in all, the WM226 is a gorgeous, icy, and unique watch. If you're someone who buys watches for the dial and design first, this one is a no-brainer. It will deliver, and I can promise you it looks even better in person than it does in any photos or videos you've seen. I guess it just comes down to how much that glacier is worth to you. But that's going to do it for this review. Thank you guys so much for watching, and please let me know what you think of this watch in the comments. I will leave this watch affiliate linked in the description if you would like to pick it up. Don't forget to like and subscribe, as we're going to be giving away another watch at 2,500 subscribers. Stay tuned for a ton more watch reviews. I have a lot coming your way. But until next time, Shameless Watch Collector, signing off. And always remember, it's not that serious.